Inner world, outer world. What I've done is I've taken a handful of quotes from Marcus Aurelius, and I've combined it with some quotes from Neville Goddard and James Allen to discuss the concept of how the outer world is a reflection of our inner world. So we have our outer world, which is our five senses, data plus meaning, and we have our inner world, which can be looked at and called the imagination or the sixth sense, inner world, or our self-image, or our identity, or how we believe ourselves to be, both at a conscious and subconscious level. And this representation of what is within is externalized as our outer world. Now, in earlier stages of our journey, we believe that the power is in the outer world. We believe that the outer world has control over us. And as we continue on this journey of personal development, we take the power back to our inner world and realize that we have the power, as the reflection of this realization that we have the power is also externalized and represented in certain people, environment, and circumstance in the outer world. And then we continue on this journey and we find more and more that the outer world is a reflection of our inner world. We then move into a place where we focus on changing our inner world, and the outer world changes. Marcus Aurelius said, "Very little is needed to make us happy in life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." First of all, one of the things that causes us to become reactive in a way that's not favorable to us, in a way that's inharmonious to the outer world, and fail to recognize that the power is in the inner world, is when we believe that happiness is found in the outer world. If the outer world is a reflection of the inner world, then all happiness is found in the inner world. One way of looking at this, to really emphasize this, is that it is our interpretation of the outer world that determines if we believe and we experience happiness through outer world circumstance or through reflection and expression of inner world experience, understanding, and creative ability, and anything, really, love, unconditional love, that originates from the inner world. When we operate from this perspective, we share the happiness from within and we express it through our experiences in life with people, environment, and circumstance. And as a result of it, we don't become dependent on if a circumstance or a person or something doesn't go a certain way, that we lose the feeling of happiness, bringing us into a state of more reactivity and further affirming and believing through the external world validation that the power is in the outer world, which forms a belief system or a self-image that experiences reality from this perspective. So all happiness is found within, and it is discovered in our way of thinking. What we think about represents itself in the external world. What we think about, how we think about, is a reflection of our beliefs. Our beliefs are either assimilated through five sensory data or outer world experiences and information and interpretation and learning from others in a way that correlates to the power being in the outer world or the power being in the inner world. If we adopt ideologies and beliefs from the external world that says the power is in the inner world, we start to find and we experience more happiness in the inner world, which is reflected in our outer world. If we believe that or experience and learn through people, environment, circumstance, and information that happiness is found in the outer world, we continue to encourage that the happiness is found in the outer world. And then we find ourselves manipulating and looking to do certain things in the outer world to experience this happiness, which is temporary then because it's based on circumstances that are outside of us. And as a result, it reflects to us in the realization that we believe that the power is in the outer world, which is denial of our true identity or our true self-image, which reveals to us, when experienced, that the power is in the inner world. So this is more than just bringing forth what you desire. This is also a journey. I always say this, the journey is as rewarding as the destination. And it is what you create and also who you become on this journey. Who do you become on this journey? You become a person that realizes that all happiness is within, all power is in the inner world and is expressed in the outer world, and thus you have the power then to create. And you're not at the whim, to a higher and higher degree on this journey, of different elements in the external world that cause you to become reactive, which is a net result of believing that happiness or power is found in the external world. To add to this, James Allen says, "Until thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. With the majority, the bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. Aimlessness is a vice, and such drifting must not continue for him who would stay clear of catastrophe and destruction." What he's talking about is the idea that when you create in your mind something that you want to bring forth, this then generates the process of self-realization. Because on your journey for creating what you desire, which is your purpose, you will uncover within yourself limiting beliefs and ideologies that cause you to believe, which is usually a result of past programming that has led you to believe that the power is in the outer world. Now, when you change this programming within, what happens is then you are better able to navigate this outer world from a place of real power instead of the use of force, to realize that you can create what you want from a place of force, or you can create what you want from a place of power, which does not involve force. In David Hawking's Power versus Force, he talks about this concept. In higher states of consciousness, we're able to create from a place of real power, which does not involve physical or emotional force geared towards the outer world. If we gear physical force or emotional force to the outer world, then what we put out will be received back to us, and we will experience the outer world as being physically and emotionally forceful to us. That's because the outer world is a reflection of the inner world. Now, in my own journey, in earlier stages when I created success in my life in corporate and when I built my first business, I used a lot of physical force, getting myself to do things and just force. And I was able to create success, but I found myself to be very burnt out and tired and frustrated. Some of that journey involved working with power. I started to tap into a higher ability to use real power, which did not involve force. And then in later stages of the journey, I realized, especially when I found within my awareness the Power versus Force book, that there are many ways of creating what I desire without the use of force. And then when I went to work on the information, I found that I would change the meaning of different beliefs that I had surrounding the power being in the outer world to then the power being in the inner world. And as a result of that, I was able to create, because the saying goes, as you believe, so it shall be done unto you, the net result or the end result based on the programming within that was evolved to a place of all the power is within. So instead of changing people, environment, and circumstance, I change the cause within, and the people change. Sometimes the exact people change and reflect what is within myself, or new people show up. Environment changes accordingly like that. Circumstance also changes. And when he's talking about intelligent accomplishment, and until thought being linked with purpose, he's saying that in order to realize what I'm talking about, that this power is in the inner world and the outer world is a reflection of the inner world, we have to cross-reference it with a definite chief aim or a goal or a desire. One of the reasons why we have desires to create stuff in this external world is to, yes, have the end result. And it's also there so that we can discover how to create and how to create from a place of real power. In earlier stages, as mentioned for me, I used a lot of force. In later stages, I work with real power. I don't change the external world, I change myself within. And the results increase, and I find myself more in flow and more so in a state of bliss, creating what I desire. So then, bringing forth your desire is not only beneficial for you, it's also beneficial for others, because then you'll be a lot more of a pleasant person, which is a reflection from the inner world and experience as pleasant interactions with people, circumstance, and environment. And it also teaches you on how to work with acquiring the power within. In maybe a world that you experience where there's so much validation that the power is in the external world, there's also proof, if you go looking for it, that the power is in the inner world. And there's many that were able to create success using the power of their inner world by evolving themselves within. The question is, what do you choose? If we make it about the outer world and we say the power is in the outer world, and we're also saying happiness, validation, approval, and all these things that cause us to become reactive is also found in the outer world and not in the inner world. And then as a result of it, we lose ourselves in emotional and physical force-based elements in the outer world. Those who are not prepared for the apprehension of a great purpose should fix the thoughts upon a faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear. Only in this way can the thoughts be gathered and focused and resolution and energy be developed, which being done, there is nothing which may not be accomplished. So again, on the journey towards realizing your definite chief aim, bringing forth what you desire, we are riddled with clues of how we give our power away or how we believe the power is in the outer world. And we then have an opportunity to evolve this programming within by changing our beliefs. And most of these beliefs are in the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind automatically expresses, and most of it is hidden beyond conscious awareness, because the subconscious mind is responsible for all the complex calculations and a lot of different elements that we can't consciously try to do all at once to come up with the optimal decision, or all the other elements that the subconscious mind works with to externalize in the outer world. If we were to consciously think about all this, it would be too overwhelming and complex. So thus we rely on our subconscious. And relying on our subconscious is very important. And number two, identifying what's in our subconscious is also important, because the subconscious mind is expressing what is being impressed. How does the subconscious mind become impressed, or how do we impress the subconscious mind? Well, it's either the outer world through 5 sensory data and meaning that we learn from the outer world, either through our own experiences or what through others teach us, or through our imagination in our inner world. Visualization, imagining, and belief systems that are changed in the mind also impress the subconscious mind and express accordingly. So by creating a purpose, by creating a definite chief aim, a goal, it is about the goal because we enjoy it, and it's also about the journey. It's who we become on the journey. Both is important. Because as we remove these elements that give the power away, limiting beliefs to the outer world, we're able to create again and again and again with a higher degree of precision and a higher degree of real power, as in changing the inner world without using physical or emotional force in the external world. Thought allied fearlessly to purpose becomes creative force. Okay? Thought allied fearlessly to purpose becomes creative force. Fearlessness is something that we learn on the journey. Many of us are infused with fear based on how we were raised, based on different experiences that we had in childhood. These fears impress the subconscious mind and continuously express as the external world, people, environment, and circumstance to reveal the fear that's within ourselves. And until we release these elements of fear that are not related to creating what we desire, we will continue to entertain them and have them expressed in the different journey-based elements that show up towards the realization of what we desire to create. So then, what shows up as fear can be evolved within. Fear causes you to become reactive, and when we become reactive, we believe the power is in the outer world, and we begin to act from a place of physical or emotional force. When we understand fear and we evolve past fear by changing the programming within, by adjusting the programming in our subconscious mind, by evolving our self-image, and I recommend you watch the video I did on self-image, I'll put a link in the description, we begin to respond more favorably to a situation that might have been in the past experience as fear, and we're able to move forward in that. That's how we tap into the creative power. This is why it's important to maintain flow. Flow is where challenge meets skill. Flow is also where you are engaged in the journey towards the destination. You see the destination and journey as one. The journey is as enjoyable and blissful as the destination. You then tap into your creative forces, infinite intelligence, and the accumulated knowledge and wisdom and experience that is already stored in your subconscious mind through past reference experiences and evolved meanings that you uncover during the journey that you change within, that causes you to operate and navigate the outer world from a place of real power rather than a place of external force, which is manifested through emotional and physical force geared towards people, environment, circumstance. He says, he who knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers. All is mind, and the universe is mental, and the realization of this truth is found through the journey of working with evolving yourself within and having it externalized in the external world as a representation of what is evolved within. That is how you develop mental powers. Marcus Aurelius says, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Just like how all happiness is found within, all strength is found within. If we're looking for strength in the external world and we somehow get it, then understand that it's temporary and it might be there to support us, but our goal is to find the strength within. Neville says, "The conditions and circumstances of life are not created by some power external to yourself. They are the conditions which result from the exercise of your freedom of choice. Your freedom of choice, your freedom to choose the ideas to which you will respond." The external world stimulates your subconscious mind, and you either react or respond in a way that's favorable or not. The response that you give is important data to reflect upon and analyze and identify. Are you giving the power to the outer world? Do you believe from that reaction or that response that the power is in the outer world? If you evolve that programming to the power being in the inner world, what expresses is a series of incidents, a bridge of incidents. I recommend watching my video on bridge of incidents, and a reflection of the expression of your beliefs within. So in other words, the outer world is made up of the beliefs within. Now, freedom of choice is found within. Freedom of choice might appear to be in this moment limited by past programming that has externalized in the external world and brought you to a place where you experience reality from a place of, I have limited choices. And as you continue to evolve the programming within, you increase and bring to awareness the broader scope of options and choices that are available, and you are free to choose one of those which will respond in a way that will bring forth your desire or move you in the right direction from a place of real power. All things are possible to you. This is a pinnacle thought. All things are possible to him that believeth. Now this statement is worth reflecting upon. All things are possible to him that believeth. Him that believeth is referring primarily to your subconscious. What are the beliefs that you have in your subconscious, which upon reflection are beliefs that were assimilated from past people, environment, and circumstance, our past. Many of us still orient ourselves from our past rather than orienting ourselves from our vision or our future. We can either orient ourselves from our past or our future or a combination. It's up to us. We have the choice. To believe that we don't have the choice is then to give the power to the outer world. It's to believe that the outer world is happening to us. And as you believe, so it shall be done unto you. So all things are possible to him that believeth brings forth your desire in a way that's also revealing to yourself. So you believe in the possibility that you will create what you desire, and you will. And if you believe is stored within your subconscious mind, and How you believe is stored within your subconscious mind. So what is being revealed to you on your journey is as you believe. What you believe is going to be as important as if you believe, because, as mentioned, the journey is as important as the destination. The journey is riddled with the materializations or the expressions towards the destination of as you believe. So there are many ways of getting to a destination. And my favorite way to get to the destination is one of joy, bliss, and ease. And I find that the more I work with this information and the process that I'm outlining here, the more I'm able to bring forth my definite chief aim from a place of joy, bliss, and ease, which operates from a place of real power, which includes thoughts, emotions, and actions that are joyous and harmonious and related to, or infinite intelligence, ways of bringing forth my result in ways that I could have possibly never thought existed. Why? Because as you believe, so it shall be done unto you. And I believe that even if I don't have the ability to know how, I'm going to figure it out, or it will show up, it will reveal itself. The outer world is a reflection of beliefs then in the inner world. And we can change our beliefs in the inner world, and by changing our beliefs in the inner world, I'm not talking about denial. I'm talking about really believing in these elements to the point where they have been externalized. And that's what Neville talks about when he says, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Imagination is forever seeing himself reflected in the world, just as you, looking into the eye of another, see your reflected self. Imagination creates reality. What is found in the imagination, as Napoleon Hill puts it, is either creative imagination or synthetic imagination, or a combination of two. Creative imagination means coming up with ideas that are originating from your higher self, in which those ideas are impressing the subconscious mind to be brought forth. Synthetic imagination is looking at the 5 sensory data and meaning and saying, I want to create something based on what already exists, and having that impress on the subconscious mind to be brought forth. It's really up to you. Or a combination of the two. Perhaps you want to create something that's innovative in the sphere of entrepreneurship, or creating products and services that are needed and useful, that is a net result of the different technology that exists right now, plus an innovative idea that you drew from your higher self or infinite intelligence. Regardless, imagination is forever seeing himself reflected in the outer world. The inner world is a reflection of the outer world, and the outer world is a reflection of the inner world. They are actually one. What we want to do is say the inner world is the cause, because that takes the power back to within you. And Neville says this, man is all imagination. So when we say man is all imagination, we're saying is man is all inner world. And that is an extraordinary, powerfully belief to adopt in your ideology, because then you realize that the outer world is a reflection more so of your inner world. I believe that 1% of what all exists in the outer world, and 99% exists in the inner world. And this is also a relative number, because I believe the inner world is infinite in nature. And in order to conceptualize it, and in order for me to maintain the understanding and belief that the power is in the inner world, I observe myself when I am allowing myself to give too much power and say 60% of the power is in the outer world, and only 40% is within the inner world, or anything like that. Now, in my journey, I've become more and more so on a higher degree of percentage at the cause in the inner world, and this is something that I encourage that you go in your own pace to realize. The journey, we are all individual expressions of the same mind, so we're all becoming realized in this journey and understanding how this stuff works. And the pace that we move at is up to us. But during the journey, we'll find that we will go more into the 1% in the outer world as a reflection, 1%, and 99% being the cause, which is made up of your self-image and beliefs, creative imagination, synthetic imagination, and all imagination encompassing it in the inner world. The world is searching for the cause of the phenomena of life, not knowing he is their very self. What responsibility is yours when you discover that your awareness is the cause of everything that has happened, is happening, and will happen to you? But when you realize that you are causing all the blows and heartaches and pains that happen to you, you will begin to change your thinking, and as you do, Scripture will unfold to you. Information that is presented in the outer world is a reflection of our interpretations within. We can either acquire interpretations from others, or we can acquire interpretations from within. By elevating our thoughts to the level of we are the cause, and we see it reflected in the external world, information starts to appear different. It is the same words on the paper, now it appears different. We understand it at a different level because we are actually reading ourselves. Thus, again, to affirm, the outer world is a reflection of the inner world. Thought and character are one, James Allen says, and as character can only manifest and discover itself through environment and circumstance, the outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state. This doesn't mean that a man's circumstance at any given time are an indication of his entire character, but that those circumstances are so intimately connected with some vital thought elements within himself, for the time being they are indispensable to his development. Upon self-reflection and realization that the interpretation of five sensory data comes from the world within, primarily subconscious, we experience a perspective shift where we realize that everything is contributing towards bringing forth our desire and our definite chief aim, and is revealing to us about ourselves and our programming within. By changing the programming within, the thoughts, the emotions, and the actions, and our ability to tap into infinite intelligence evolves. Our ability to work with the mind powers that have not been discovered yet and quantified also evolves. Marcus Aurelius says, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." So this means, instead of trying to change people, evolve and change yourself within and observe as people change. When you become aware of those in need, even though you do not know them personally, do you use your imagination to lift them up from the state? This is what you are called upon to do. If you represent them to yourself as you would like them to be, and persuade yourself it is true, that branch will change your world. Now, what Neville's talking about is that we form biases towards people, environment, and circumstance, which is a net result of past programming. If we evolve this programming within and we evolve it to a place of conviction that it is so, they will become so. You'll start to orient yourself to find people, environment, and circumstance that reveals it. He's talking primarily about people. What I found in this journey, in the earlier stages, is I would try to get people to do things. And that's working with the power of Caesar, which is the external world, outer world, emotional and mental manipulation. Now, what I've evolved to and found to be more effective is to change the programming within, and then I find that the people change. The exact person changes to reflect, because all people reflect a mood that is within me. Now, going back to what James Allen said, thought and character are one, and as character can only manifest and discover itself through environment and circumstance, the outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state. It doesn't mean that we are aware of it right now, because Carl Jung calls this making the darkness conscious, as in bringing more awareness to what's in your subconscious mind. We might not know how so the person reflects the mood within us, but as we continue on this journey, we will one day understand how the person reflects the mood within us, and then we will change the mood within, and it will be reflected accordingly. On this journey for creating success, bringing forth what you desire, the mood that's represented in the person in front of you reveals the mood that is within yourself. You might say it's them, but it is us. We change the mood within, we evolve, and the theater that potentially could have played out with the former mood cannot exist. It may exist within them, but it's not about them, it's about you. And then what happens is it can only play out the way that you allow it to play out. Now, this will create more harmonious relationships. This will attract in your life more harmonious people through the bridge of incidence to create what you desire, because you are focusing on the cause within. And then what Neville says is you can practice this by observing how you feel about people, knowing that how you feel about them is how you feel about yourself, because the outer world's a reflection of the inner world. People reflect us. They are the closest reflection to us. So then, when we experience them in a way that is inharmonious, we can change the programming within till we experience them and interpret them and believe them to be harmonious, and they will become that to us. Now, this is not from a place of force. We're not doing it because we want them to change. We're doing this to create more harmoniousness within. We're doing this to evolve ourselves within because we want the outer world to reflect accordingly. And as a result of this, we'll find that the outer world reflects accordingly. Man finds it difficult to believe that he is the cause of all of life. Yet, I say, there is no other. Look into the eye of your friend or enemy, and you will only see yourself. Now, in this journey, we might find some situations to be more challenging than others. Maybe with one individual, you find it to be a lot more challenging to evolve yourself within with programming that allows you to accept and externalize that acceptance as harmonious relationship between you and them. And that's okay. It is not our responsibility to go around and express this. We could do it if we want to, all the time with all people. We do want to remember, though, that everybody that shows up within our awareness on the journey towards the materialization of our dream, we can do this. We can evolve the programming within. Because if they are showing up and we are experiencing them on the journey, then they are a reflection of our inner world. The mood within us is expressed and externalized as people, environment, circumstance, and information in the outer world as a result of the evolution of our programming within. All that a man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is a direct result of his own thoughts. In a justly ordered universe where loss of equipoise would mean total destruction, individual responsibility must be absolute. A man's weakness and strength, purity and impurity are his own, and not another man's. They are brought about by himself and not by another. And they can only be altered by himself, never by another. His condition is also his own, and not another man's. His suffering and his happiness are evolved from within. As he thinks, so he is, and as he continues to think, so he remains. So then we say, instead of trying to change people who are a reflection of ourselves, which is using the power of Caesar, which is emotional manipulation or physical manipulation, we use the power of God, which is our imagination, to evolve our programming within. By evolving our programming within, we realize more so, as the external world changes, that the outer world is a reflection of our inner world. We release the need to want to change the outer world and change our inner world. More and more so, we go at our own pace. This doesn't have to happen overnight. As mentioned, the journey is as enjoyable as the destination. So make this a gradual process. I know for me it was a gradual process. There were certain stages of my life where I amplified it, where I made it a focus. And in cross-reference, the outer world still, through gradual change or through rapid change, ended up being a reflection of what is in my inner world, both times. The choice is up to us, the level that we want to move at. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. Marcus Aurelius. If the outer world's reflection of the inner world, then the opinions and facts of the outer world are what we call opinions and facts within. If you see a fact in the external world and we say, I choose to identify with that fact and call it fact, then it is so. It's our choice. If we then choose to release from that fact, then we also accept the implications of releasing from that fact. Perhaps that fact does not serve us on the journey of creating what we desire. My opinion on this is I'm not interested in changing facts in the external world, like gravity or any kind of fact that I actually agree with and I believe is part of the world that I want to live in. I do, however, want to change opinions and facts that my subconscious mind is interpreting in a way that is inharmonious to what I desire to create. And what you desire to create is individual and unique to you. So thus the opinions and facts that you change or you affirm are individual and unique to you. He says also, everything is perspective, not the truth, perspective. As much as someone is convinced about something, and we learn this from the Kabbalion, all truths are half-truth, there are situations where that truth might not be true. And again, if we focus more on who is right, we lose ourselves in the effect of trying to control the outer world. And what we want to do is move into a place of what is right by changing the inner world, realizing that the outer world is a reflection of our inner world. And our goal here is to bring forth what we desire and also evolve ourselves within so we can create more harmoniousness within, which is then reflected as a higher degree of harmoniousness with people, environment, circumstance, and information in the outer world. This world of generation I call the world of Caesar should not be neglected. It is an important aspect of reality, even though it is only a shadow, 1%. The outer world is a reflection of our inner world. Scripture urges us to revise, to forgive, and change our thoughts, thereby changing the conditions of our life. It is said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. If the kingdom of heaven is within you, then the way to find heaven and have it express in the external world is by revising, forgiving, and changing our thoughts within. Neville also says our inner conversations represent in various ways the world we live in. Our individual worlds are self-revelations of our own inner speech. We are told that every idle word that man shall speak, they shall give account thereof. For by their words they shall be justified, and by their words they shall be condemned. What do we say when we talk about people, environment, and circumstance? When we are talking to ourselves about it? What are we saying when we talk about ourselves to ourselves? All this information is a revelation of our belief systems. These are elements that are part of a self-image that we have that can be evolved. These elements are clues of the reality that we are creating. It is externalized in the outer world being a reflection of the inner world. By changing these inner conversations, by evolving our thinking and thoughts into one of a greater degree of harmony, and believing it to be so, it affirms in the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind automatically expresses. The subconscious mind expresses and creates reality. Reality is a reflection of what is within the subconscious mind primarily. And so thus, if the reflection is within the subconscious mind, and the self-image is stored within the subconscious mind, and speech and what we say when we talk to ourselves about others and ourselves, information, circumstance, and environment is a revelation of this self-image, then we know then what we are creating and we can cross-reference it accurately. At the end of the day, he says, I review the day. I don't judge it, I simply review it. I look over the entire day, all the episodes, all the events, all the conversations, all the meetings, and then I see it clearly in my mind's eye. I rewrite it. I rewrite it and make it conform to the ideal day I wish I had experienced. I take scene after scene, rewrite it, revise it, and having revised my day, then in my imagination I relive that day, the revised day, and I do it over and over in my imagination until this seeming imagined state begins to take onto me the tones of reality. It seems that it's real, that I actually did experience it, and I have found from experience that these revised days, if I really lived, will change my tomorrows. When I meet people tomorrow that today disappointed me, they will not tomorrow, for in me I have changed the very nature of that being, and I have changed him. He bears witness tomorrow of the change that took place within me. We have the opportunity to reflect back on the accumulated five sensory data and meaning that we have received from the outer world and inventory it to identify if any of it has caused us to give the power away from the inner world to the outer world through assumption. And we can revise this and run imaginal acts before we go to sleep, which is ideal because that's the state akin to sleep when the subconscious mind is at a higher degree of being impressed or likelihood of being impressed because the conscious mind is moving out of the way. And have that impress in the subconscious mind and rewrite the meaning. Now, this is not done from a place of denial. This is done from a place of understanding. We reflect upon the day from a place of understanding ourselves, people, environment, circumstance, and the cross-reference, and ask ourselves, what would be ideal, knowing that this ideal will impress the subconscious mind and will behave that way, will have thoughts that way, will have emotions that way, will tap into infinite intelligence to bring it forth in that way. So he says, concentrate your attention upon the idea of identifying yourself with your ideal. Assume you are already that which you seek, and your assumption, though false, if sustained, will harden into fact. And by false, he's referring to rewriting the self-image. The self-image, and I recommend watching that video, I did put a link in the description, is really a net result of past programming that we have assumed from the external world and also our imagination to create the self-image that may or may not be in alignment with our true self-image. Only we know our own self-image, our true self-image. We can listen to the opinions of others. We can value the opinions of others if we want. We can use the opinions of others to find more clues about our true self-image, but only we know, because it's so intimate to us, who we really want to become. And when we honor that, we concentrate upon that, we allow that self-image to impress on the subconscious mind, and we'll notice that the external world will change because the outer world is a reflection of the inner world. And it will change through a bridge of incidents. Watch the video I did on that. There will be things that you'll be doing, or there'll be things that you'll not be doing. Emotions will be brought forth, thoughts will be brought forth to be harmonious and related to this image that you have of yourself that you have identified through your imagination, which you honor and impress on your subconscious mind, and combining that with this pruning shears of revision exercise where we revise the day, we can cross-reference and evolve our self-image within, which represents our inner world interaction and expression in the outer world as the outer world. Calmness of mind, James Allen says, is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort in self-control. Self-control is self-impression in our imagination of our ideal self-image and reflection on the external world for incongruences and congruences to reveal our progress on the journey. And the incongruences are changed within. When we understand this formula and we repeat it over and over again, we have calmness of mind. Its persistence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more than extraordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought. Thought materializes in the external world as the external world to bring forth what we desire, to represent as the bridge of incidents leading up to what we desire, and also reveal to us about ourselves of what we can evolve within to change the world within, to be more harmonious with not just what we want to bring forth, but how we want to bring it forth. As you believe, so it shall be done unto you. If you want to copy this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.